Okay, so here we go. We have made the hands for our puppet, and now we're moving on to making the head for our puppet. So here's that hand puppet of ours. I don't want to get clay on it, so I'm not going to have it out near my clay, but you know, I'll just remind you, here he is, he needs a head. So we're going to make a pinch pot head that's going to go over this head. So I'll put this over to the side so nothing happens to it. I'm going to revisit my drawing. If you need to redraw your head, you can do that too, just to have it next to you. So here's my super chicken head. And what I'm going to do is start by making a pinch pot, and then I'm going to add some details to it. Things like these, this mask, I'm going to add with fabric later. And I'm not sure, I'll probably add some sort of structure for the hair out of clay too. And the beak will be out of clay. So here we go. I've got this head, this ball of clay that's going to become a head. So I'm going to kind of just make it into a perfect ball first, because we'll start with a pinch pot. So for a pinch pot, you really get your clay into a nice, neat ball. I actually am going to kind of remove some clay because I think I have a bit too much, because by the time I make it hollow, it's going to be a lot of clay, and I don't want to have too much clay. So I'm going to make it a nice ball, nice smooth ball. I'm kind of smoothing it as I do this, so I'm smoothing around. Once it's a nice smooth ball, you can take a little time on that. Then I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to press it into the clay. Okay. And I'm going to start to pinch around. I want it to be pretty even all the way around. So I want it to be, you know, the same amount of thickness at the top as it is at the bottom. And if my clay is dry, it may start cracking here around the edge. Now, just like we did with the clay hands, if your clay starts getting cracked and dry, you can take a little bit of water on your fingers and you want to tap them on your board and get rid of the excess water. You don't want to make a mud ball. So you're going to come in here and you can kind of re-wet the clay, but again, not so wet that it's a mud ball, just a little bit, kind of massaging it in there so it's really moist clay and not super shiny wet clay. And I'm continuing to pinch around, making a consistent pinch pot all the way around, smoothing out this border here, you know, coming in and really getting into the sides. Oh, there's a crack. I really check for cracks often, and I fix them as they come up. So pinching in all the way up in the top of this too. I really want to make sure it's even all the way around. Nice even pinch pot. I don't want it too thick. I don't want it too thin. I want it, you know, maybe like the thickness of, what is it the thickness of? Great question. I'm sure you could think of a million things. What do you think it's the thickness of? Let's look. It's about this thick. So maybe like a really thin piece of bread. I don't know. And then once I get it, the pinch pot, the way that I want it, I'm going to kind of hold this up and see, what do I think? Do I like the shape of that? It's a little bit wide for me actually, so I'm going to kind of use my hand to just kind of cup that and start to bring it in a little, because I really want to make it sort of come in towards the neck a bit there. And working on getting the pinch pot, the shape of the head that you want it to be to start, is really the first step. So maybe, you know, if it were like a, I don't know, like a turtle, you might want it to be a little more oval. My chicken's going to be a little bit more kind of like a dome. So this is a pretty good shape actually. If you look at it from this angle, it's kind of hard to see, but, and it's a little bit thick actually. So I think what I'm going to do is take my toothpick, my really handy dandy toothpick, and I'm going to cut a little bit out because I want it to I'm going to cut a triangle out. I want it to come in a bit more. So I'm going to cut a little wedge out. Then I'm going to score both sides of this wedge. You guys have probably done this before, score, slip, and smudge in elementary school. I'm going to score here too. And this is going to bring it in and make it a little bit thinner for my specific piece. I'm going to use a little water here on the inside and mix it together so it becomes like slip, which is clay and water mixed together. And I'm going to really press from both sides that together to get rid of that seam But you know what? The seam actually might work for me. Let's say you had like a dinosaur or something. This could actually work for that little like mohawk of feathers. So I won't push it out too much. But I will use my tool on the inside to smooth it because I don't want it to crack on that seam. I might even take a little bit of this like wetter clay and press it. Just put a little bit on the inside of there. I don't want to just leave that because there's air between where I just added the clay and the clay that was there before. So that could cause air bubbles and that could cause it to explode in the kiln. So I want to use my tool to smooth that into the seam. Okay. And at this point, I've got a dome that could start to look like a chicken's head, like this chicken's head. So what do I do next? Now I start to add my details. So I'm going to make this sort of tuft of hair here out of clay. So I've got this piece that I cut out, which actually kind of could work for this. So I'm going to use my toothpick to draw the shape that I want that tuft of hair to be. So I'm going to kind of cut these pieces out. I'm going to cut maybe into here, cut this wedge out, and there I've got this kind of crazy hairdo which will work perfectly for my chicken. So I'm going to score, slip, and smudge that along the head here like this. You see? So I'm going to score the inside of that. I'm going to score along this ridge here. Oops. See, I'm looking at the smartboard and not at my art. And then I'm going to press this from the inside. I'm pressing into the piece that I'm scoring, slipping, and smudging on there. And then I can use my tool to smooth this on either side to make sure it becomes one piece of clay. I've got to make sure there's really no cracks in this, because if there's cracks, then it may fall off in the kiln. So I really want to take my time making this into one piece of clay. You've got 2 days for this, so you've got the rest of today after the video is done, and then you've got one more class. So I'd like you to finish them in 2 classes, but you know, this isn't a huge feat here, so it's okay if I think in the 2 classes you'll be able to really take your time and make it nice and smooth and well put together. Then here I'm going to take this clay, okay, and I'm going to add a little bit more to the top. So one really big tuft of hair at the top. I'm drawing this on here the way that I want it. And then I'm going to cut that out. So I'll cut this out here. Oops, cut right into it. Oh, I don't know if I'm crazy about that. I think I'll smooth it and start over. This happens sometimes, right? We make a mistake and we got to start over, and that's okay. See, it even happens to me. So I'm going to cut in out like this a little bit, and then I'll kind of cut this triangle out for the hair, because I want one crazy tuft of hair in the front. And then I'm going to come like this here, and then I can score this and add some more scores here. This is going to go right on the top of the head. I might actually even cut a little bit more of this out just because I want it to really stick up on top of the head. So I'm going to add some water there. I'm going to go in from the inside with my left hand because I'm a righty. Press down with my right and use my tool to, I can wipe the extra clay off here so that my tool works better because it doesn't have too much excess clay. And I'm going to smooth that into place. Smooth it in the front, smooth it on the side so it looks like this kind of crazy fun mohawk. My gosh, I love mohawks. And then I can use my fingers to kind of press this and get it really the shape I want it to before it dries. So I've got this awesome chicken mane. Wow. Now, crazy things happening here. Miss Kelly is stopping me because it's the end of class. So just listen to, at this point, you'd listen to Miss Kelly's instructions on how to wrap this, okay? So you'd wrap it in some damp paper towels. You're going to squeeze the damp paper towel. You're going to wet the paper towels, then squeeze them out so you don't have extra water in them. You're going to wrap it. You're going to put it in a place that Miss Kelly tells you to put it in. So she'll talk about that at the end of class. Then the next day, it's only a 2-day project, and I'm doing it 2 days in a row. So the very next day you can come in, unwrap this, and then you can keep working on it and hopefully finish it in the second day. So here we are on day 2. I'm just going to go through all this right now. So here's on day 2, I'm going to take my clay and I'm going to roll out and make my beak this time. So I'm going to add the details. So here's the beak. Okay, and then for the beak, I can slice off the edge so I have a nice flat edge to add to my clay here. And I'm going to score that beak on and score the beak on here. Then I'm going to add some water and some water here. Okay. And then you can use the tool again to smooth all the way around, making sure the beak becomes part of that clay. Okay. And then maybe you can add some details, like for instance, maybe I reshape this a little. This is kind of a big beak, so I might actually, maybe I'll curve it down a little. Hey, why not? I don't think chickens' beaks are curved down, but I can use my artist license to say, hey, my chicken's beak is. I think I'm going to pinch off a little too because it's a little long for my liking. So there's my beak. And then I can use my tool to, like my toothpick here, to draw a line in showing where the beak would meet on this side. I'm not actually cutting all the way through. I'm just making it look like it's cut all the way through. I want this to be a little smoother before I do that, so I'll use the side of my toothpick to get rid of extra clay, and then I can use my toothpick to draw that line in on this side too. And then what else am I missing? Let me check my drawing. I have these funny cheeks. I think I'm going to add them on, so I'm going to just take some clay here like this and make these round cheeks, and I also have to score and slip them on. And I know this video is getting really long and you're probably so ready to work, but so I'll try to speed it up. I won't do both cheeks. I'll do the other one on my own without you watching, but then I'd press this into place from the inside, and I'd use my tool to really smooth that all the way around the sides. I can kind of render that, take my time on that. And then as far as eyes go, I'm going to make a mask out of fabric later, but I do want to have some eyes in place. So I think what I'll do is work on some eyes too in a similar way. So maybe I take some little balls of clay like this and score them here and put some little score marks where I want them to go on my clay. Add a little water to both. Press that into place, but I want to press from the inside so it doesn't cave. And then I can use my tool to really smooth around the edge like that too. And again, there's going to be a mask around these, so these eyes don't have to be perfect, but I want them to be slightly perfect because I'm kind of a perfectionist. But anyway, that's where we're going with this.